Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Top Chef RHAPup. I am LaTonya Starks. Haley and Curt are not here this week. They also will not be here next week. They have abandoned their posts. They are missing in action. And I am alone and afraid, or at least I was when I first found out about this information. But I am joined this week by two of my dear friends in podcasting that love Top Chef. So without any further ado, let's introduce you to the newest co-host of the Top Chef RHAPup project, is what I'm going to call it, because it's a work in progress. First, Brendan Fitzpatrick, how are you doing?
LT, it is great to be here. I'm really happy to have been the surprise entrant from Last Chance Kitchen. I guess I won the post-show recaps cook-off.
Yep.
And got to come over finally and make my reality TV RHAPup debut on the Top Chef pod. I've been a huge fan of Top Chef and the Top Chef podcast for many, many years and many, many seasons. I've always said to people I would love to come on the Top Chef podcast if I was ever given a chance. And what better week than Cheese Week?
Yes, Cheese Week. Cheese Week is upon us, people. Every day is Cheese Week for me, but that's a different podcast, really. And then we're also joined by one of my favorite little sisters in podcasting, the Gia Worthy. Gia, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. LaTonya, I think you made the correct choice in not airing the Last Chance Kitchen footage of who was going to be podcasting this episode. It was quite the bloodbath. Like, I hit a guy. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, I think at some point we're going to have to air that footage, but it's probably going to be in a court of law.
Yeah, I think once, maybe the hype has worn down, there, a lot of emotions running through.
Has expired.
Yes, exactly. And then I think, this could be like a bonus maybe at the end of the season of our Last Chance Kitchen. Should we say arena? If it was giving Hunger Games vibes a little bit.
I mean, if I get to dress up like Effie Trinket and taste good food, all in competition for who gets to be on this podcast.
You were some gorgeous combination of Effie Trinket and Tom Colicchio. It just makes sense.
I am bald. All right. So we are here to discuss an episode of Top Chef because that's how this podcast works. Everyone is going to have to bear with me because I have never hosted this podcast and I am both nervous and filled with an incredible amount of power at this moment. So there's really no telling what I might do or say. So
you're doing great.
Thank you. You're doing amazing, sweetie. Okay, so let's jump right into it then. We had my favorite quickfire challenge of the season, not because of any of the ingredients, if I'm being honest, but just because of who the guest judges were. We were joined by Carla Hall, who, oh my God.
Legend. Absolute legend.
There are no words you can even make when you talk about Carla Hall. You just end up making sounds and start sounding dumb. And then Clea Duvall, who is a gay icon. Like the amount of gay icons that were in the kitchen, like if you add Kristen Kish, it's just, I don't know how anyone was able to cook any food, but they managed to do that. So they had a quickfire challenge was inspired by Door County, which is a place that exists in Wisconsin. They had to incorporate a mystery ingredient that they found behind the doors of the creepiest advent calendar that I've ever seen.
Honestly, it's an advent calendar I would actually love to have just because of the ingredients behind them. I'd be like, what am I getting out of the advent calendar today? Ooh, ginseng. Let's see what I can do with this.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
I can't put it on a grill, so I can't do anything with it. And yeah, so what did you all think when you first heard that this challenge was about mystery ingredients and Door County cherries, Gia?
So I'm not a huge cherry person, and not to say I don't like cherries, but I could go either way with them. Like, sometimes in the mood, sometimes not. But I love quick fires. It's like one of my favorite parts of the show. Just the quick fires are always a good time for me. And except when they did the elimination quick fires way back when, I hated those.
Yeah.
But
or the one they did at the beginning of the season basically was a quick fire elimination.
Yeah, I don't like those. I'm not a fan of those. But the standard tried and true quick fires are just always fun to me. They feel just like a nice little appetizer before the main event. But I love when everybody is working with something different, but there is a through line with like the similarities connecting each of the dishes, which was the cherries. So maybe while the ingredients were not specifically like what I was watching for here, it was still very fun, and it was interesting to see what everybody was working with. This is a very colorful group of chefs. So this has just been a really fun cast, even when I wasn't a huge fan of some of the challenges.
Brendan, what do you think of the quickfire? And are you a fan of the fact that elimination has been removed, or not elimination, but safety from elimination has been removed as a win condition?
I actually think that elimination or immunity being granted for the winner of each elimination challenge makes more sense than giving immunity the same week for the quickfire. I'm actually okay with it. What I actually really like about the quickfire is I've always been a bigger fan of the quickfire than the elimination challenges, because the quickfire is where I feel like we really get to drill down and get to know the contestants, and they're a little more free to cook whatever they want. Whereas sometimes in some of the elimination challenges, I think that it can feel a little boxed in. I mean, half of our contestants this week with the elimination challenge made a freaking crudo. I mean, so what can you do?
Everybody's got to make a croquette.
Or croquette,
we'll get to it.
Yeah. So it's like this allowed them to sort of also like give more of their personality in the confessionals as they're running around, trying to quickly gather everything they need, and people come over and start bothering them. You get a little more of their like personalities, and then it also gives room to breathe for their stories a little more as well. So I'm a bigger fan of the quickfires just in general from a character development standpoint.
I will say, though, I need to make my moment known here, LaTonya. I hate that they took immunity away during quick fires.
Yeah.
And I actually, Brendan, when you said like it makes more sense for the elimination challenge winner to receive immunity, I agree with that. But there's something so messy and hilarious about someone getting granted immunity right before these big challenges and have it be like thrown a wrench into everyone's whatever plans they may have, or the teams that they want to have broken up. I miss it so much, and it's nice that they are getting like a monetary prize. I'm sure as the actual contestants, they appreciate the money more than they would appreciate like, maybe some of them would prefer the immunity, but I think like, a guaranteed $5,000 for winning a challenge is going to be probably very preferred for a lot of these contestants here. However, I feel like as viewers, we get nothing out of like who is winning a certain amount of money. Like it's just not anything that adds to the plot of the show.
Yeah.
So even if they took away immunity, I wish they would give like maybe like a fun little like advantage for the quickfire win. Like they get to pick their cheese first or something for this challenge, or they can swap teams if they want to. Something that isn't upheaving the entire integrity of whatever challenge they're about to do, but a fun little advantage so that we also kind of like reap the benefits of a quick fire win as well.
Yeah, I'm definitely all for them like throwing more wrinkles into what you get for quick fires. I mean, if they're going to take away immunity, throw in more than just the cash prize. Like, especially for the team challenges, it's always an interesting wrinkle when there's an advantage or a disadvantage from the quickfire that somebody has to contend with in a team challenge. Like, especially when like you get to something like Restaurant Wars and somebody has immunity and they start screwing up everything in Restaurant Wars, and you're like, well, it's not going to be the person we should be able to send home here. So I agree. Like, there should be something, but I think that
I think it just kind of divorces the quick fire from the plot of the rest of the show. Because like if the quick fire has stakes in the rest of the storyline, then that it makes it more relevant, I think. Whereas, I'm very happy for Rasica. Who seems to be the only one who can win at this
second
point.
in a row. Yeah. I think about it a little bit like they're trying to do a little more like what Survivor does with splitting up the challenges, where the first half is a reward challenge, the second half is an immunity challenge. And it's like, so that's kind of what it feels like to me, where they're trying to like tweak the format to be a little more standard reality TV show. You know what I mean?
I can't wait until we get to Top Chef Mergatory.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That'll be great.
You earn your way into Restaurant Wars.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Here's an obstacle course that Tom put together.
Truly, though, is Restaurant Wars worth it? Probably not.
No.
Right.
It's not. It's always the most ridiculous episode of the season because someone does something blatantly wrong.
Truly.
All right. For the quick fire, we'll start with Amanda. Her mystery ingredient was mustard, which Carla loves, apparently. Yellow mustard. And she made a cherry glazed pork tenderloin with cherry and mustard ricotta, which sounds delicious. I don't eat a lot of pork tenderloin though, but that sounds good.
Yeah, I mean, hot take here, but I love mustard, but I think yellow mustard is like the lowest
form of mustard
of all the mustards. You know what I mean? Like, it would have been interesting if it was like a certain flavored mustard, but I guess everybody else got basic stuff too, so it just had to be the basic yellow mustard.
You can put stuff in your basic yellow mustard and make it a special mustard, I guess.
That's very true. But yeah, I had a big yum next to Amanda's dish here because it sounded great. I wanted it. Yeah.
Laura had condensed milk and made Montmorency cherry condensed milk ice cream, tart, cherry syrup, and pepper.
Laura coming in again with the desserts here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
looks good.
It looked good. It was ice cream with cherries.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to like?
What's not to like about that?
Yeah.
I always think it's really interesting when people come in to Top Chef and they do a lot of desserts in like quick fire challenges, because for most of the chefs that we've seen on Top Chef, they like falter really bad when they get to like the dessert portion of any challenge. So it's always cool when someone comes on with either pastry experience or dessert experience. Danny had bamboo shoots, which I would not have done well with. And he made a grilled skirt steak, bamboo shoot and cherry gremolata, and a cherry gastrique.
Yeah, another big fat yum next to his dish for me. I thought that this like both looked and sounded
so
incredible.
Good.
I wanted it. I was like, all right, give me all of that right now for dinner. And I'm gonna be saying that a lot because I haven't had dinner yet. So I'm gonna be doing a lot.
We're all hungry.
Like, we're all hungry, which is a great time to be recording.
It's a great time to do a Top Chef podcast. Yeah. Michelle had ginseng. She made a cherry and ginseng broth with charred shrimp and bok choy. Really outside of her comfort zone, which is like, I feel like has been a through line from Michelle all season. She's just like, I haven't had to do this in 20 years. I have never made ginseng in this way, or things like that.
Yeah, I never really thought of ginseng as being like a actual food ingredient. I thought it was just like a flavor of tea, just like she did. So I was kind of like, I don't know. I would have no idea where to start with this either.
Gia, what are your thoughts on Michelle so far?
I'm obsessed with her. Her and another contestant that we already talked. Her and Amanda. I feel like her and Amanda were contestants selected specifically for me to root for.
Yes.
I am obsessed with them. They are like the reason for the season right now. Oh my God, I'm obsessed. But I think Michelle is so interesting because, like, obviously this is a very good episode for her, even if she doesn't place in the quick fire. spoilers, I guess, if you haven't seen the end of the episode yet. But like, I think it's really, I'm so happy that we started getting chefs from other lines of work outside of the standard, like executive chef, sous chef, like we still get those chefs, and every once in a while they would throw in like a private chef or a personal chef or like a family chef, a home cook or something like that. But it's only been very recently that we started getting like pit masters and starting getting a little more recognition here. And she's had a very strong showing so far. And it's been great to see that, even when, like, she made me so nervous that first episode where she was freaking out. And I was like, oh my God, is our beautiful master lady going to be our first boo? Because I don't know if I can watch the rest of the season if that happens. And of course, she was like one of the top contenders after that. So I love her so much. Amanda makes me laugh like every episode.
Every time.
So, yes. I think that like we've just had a very strong showing with the women, particularly women of color, this season, but really in this episode in particular. We got to see finally some more of Kalina as well, which was really nice to see. So it's been great. I'm enjoying the cast so far. But Michelle is obviously, I think, for a lot of people, a huge standout.
Huge.
Yeah, I'm really excited by Michelle. I think that like as the season grows, I hope her confidence continues to grow, because I think that this was like a really great episode for her. And I mean, we'll talk about exactly why in the second half when we get into the elimination. But like, yeah, I was like you said, I was really nervous for her the first episode, and then she's just like banger after banger the rest of the way. I'm really, really happy for her.
Yeah, she's the best. Alicia got serrano peppers and made a charred cabbage with serrano reduction and lime and anchovy butter. She was unfortunately on the one of the people on the bottom with this dish, and I can kind of understand just from how disjointed the ingredients seem. Like I would die if I ate that. My stomach just would explode. So I would not order that at a restaurant. I like the idea that she had, though, to do veggies, because so many people were doing meat. But like,
especially
what do you all think?
Especially a spicy cabbage. I thought it was a really interesting idea, and I would have loved to try it. But unfortunately, the execution was just not there. But I thought the idea was really great.
Yeah, I think this could have gone in a really good direction, because she did kind of catch my eye with this when she was talking about how she wants to do something less meat-based, since that seems to be the direction a lot of the chefs were going in. Especially since we see later, again, everyone's making a croquette in the next challenge. But I liked the idea. I think it just wasn't executed the way that she had intended. It just seems like there was a lot going on that my uncultured mind doesn't know how it would have worked, like how it was going to all come together. And maybe she just needed a little extra time to actually merge all of the different flavors going on here.
Yeah. Incredibly interesting, because it sounds like kimchi. Which is the next mystery ingredient, the one that Dan had. Kimchi pancake with kimchi cherries and Bing cherry hoisin. Very interesting. Like, I am still not completely sold on kimchi. I know that there are some people that are obsessed with it. But like the cabbage of it, I like cabbage, but like made in a very specific way. Whenever I try different types of cabbage, and especially like fermented cabbage, it just sours my stomach. And so I haven't gotten a chance to give it the chance that it deserves. Are you a kimchi fan, Gia?
Not particularly, but I think it's like, I think I haven't really tried a lot of kimchi to make a well-versed opinion, because I think it's like I want to go, I live near some grocery stores that have kimchi, but I'd like to go to like a place where they like serve it to you, or something where I feel like I could get it like readily made or available
like
there.
A place that specializes.
Yeah.
Right.
So
like
instead of like,
food.
because I think I'd like to try that more, but it's also just kind of a texture thing for me. I have a really hard time enjoying canned foods in general. It's just like the preservative juice they always put in there, like just it's just not particularly for me. But I want to like kimchi. I want to. So if anybody knows a good place to try kimchi or a good brand of kimchi to buy, please tell me, because I would love to be a kimchi fan. I just feel like I've never really allowed myself the opportunity to explore what kimchi can offer. However, I will say this sounded really good. I think that's exactly what you put in the notes for this, Brendan, is that this did sound like amazing.
Yeah, this got my what I'm gonna call my Brian Voltaggio, it just sounds delicious award for the quickfire. Like, I literally like saw the ingredients and like could picture the Brian Voltaggio, it just sounds delicious gift in my head. Like, it's just that I was like, I want to try it. It's great, perfect. But I am a kimchi fan. Like, there's an Asian place near me that does a really lovely kimchi fried rice that's like really, really delicious. Yeah, I'm a fan. You know, I haven't had it often, but every time I do, I'm like, oh yeah, I do like this. This is really good.
Yeah, I need to go to Korea. So if anyone wants to
okay,
pay for
let's
our trip,
go.
if anyone wants to pay for our
go.
trip to Korea so that we can go experience some real kimchi, please hit us up here at the podcast.
I think we could. I think having our next podcast episode in Korea would be pretty cool. So
that would be great.
If someone is listening to this and be like, I'd love to sponsor 3 lovely podcasters on their kimchi adventures.
Yeah, hashtag pick us to Korea.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hashtag call it the kimchi adventures.
There you go.
Yes.
I think we've got an idea for a show. All we need is financing.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, Rob.
Here for it. Yep. Come on, Rob.
Get on top of it. Kevin had black garlic, and he made a beef tenderloin with pole of cherries and black garlic. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly because, you know, I've never seen that word before.
Yeah, pole cherries. We'll say
those are all the ways of saying it. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really intrigued by this because I saw the ingredients, and then I saw like the execution, and I was like, I love a beef tenderloin, but I don't think that this like particularly looks very good. And then somehow he winds up in the top 3.
He's in the top. Yeah.
All right. I guess it was good enough to be in the top 3, but it wasn't that impressive to me on the execution. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely out of bounds, but I didn't think it was like
Brendan,
that.
Unimpressed.
I didn't think it didn't sound that great to me, and I didn't think that it like actually featured the cherries enough the way he described it. So maybe it's just a misinterpretation on my side of like how he described the dish.
Yeah, all of those ingredients though sound fantastic together. Like black garlic and cherries sounds like a really great way to bring out the flavor of each of those things. So I would be very interested in trying it. Charlie fittingly got chocolate. And he made charred golden beets with chocolate cherry demi, small held purple tomatoes, and pickled cherries. And he was also on the bottom with this dish. I just didn't think that beets were the way that he was going to go when he got chocolate and cherries. Like, I could see getting chocolate and cherries and doing what Kevin did with the beef tenderloin, but not beets. And I think that the beets may have been the downfall of the dish.
Yeah, I was really like impressed and a little like confused at first that he was going to go veggies with his chocolate and cherries, but then I was like, I mean, I'd still try it because it sounds interesting enough. Like, but I'm also not a huge beets person, but I'm also willing to try anything if it sounds interesting. So
yeah. There's a beet salad that I love. That really got me into like fresh beets. But I mean, I would try this. I just don't know how I feel. I'm also not the hugest fan of chocolate. Manny, one of our crushes, on
I see it.
podcast. Manny just needs to be talked about just generally. I just think that it's important that he's on the show, and he's so big and burly, and I'm just glad that I get to see him on my television.
I think it's just important that he's present and often. Like, we know that he's there, you know?
That's that and the accent. Like, if we could just hear him say a couple words in the accent. It.
They knew what they were doing casting him.
They knew exactly what they were doing.
Like, he's also a very talented chef, but if he's also very attractive, that, you know, like, what is a gal to do?
Eat some of that food, I guess. He got soy sauce, and he made a soy marinated roasted pork belly with sauteed pickled cherries. This looked really good. I'm like, pork belly is like a weakness of mine. And and he is apparently a weakness of mine as well. So if he had served me this dish, I would have just given him $5,000. I don't know if that would have gone along with like the competitive spirit or whatever of the competition, but that's what would have happened if I were a judge.
I am a huge soy sauce fan, so you give me anything that is supposed to be served with soy sauce, and I'm 9 times out of 10 going to enjoy it, just because I enjoy anything that comes with soy sauce. So there you go.
I actually hate soy sauce. It is like not my, I don't know. I love sushi and anything sushi adjacent, but for some reason, soy sauce, not for me. So if you can get me to like something with soy sauce in it, and that is a win in my book. And it did look really good. I don't know how it would have tasted. I feel like I personally would have been heated if I got soy sauce in a cherry competition. But like some of these choices were particularly foul from the judges about like what they were going to be their additional ingredients with it. But this is why they're the professionals. They make like really weird combinations look and taste good.
For sure.
Savannah got chicken livers, which she really hadn't, I don't think, worked with before, or at least for a long time. She made chicken liver mousse, panella salad with shishito peppers and cherry vinaigrette, and she was in the top 3 with this dish, which honestly sounds great to me.
I'm not a chicken liver person, and I'm not like a big mousses kind of person. So I was actually like a little surprised just because of my own personal, like, this isn't the dish I would have gone for, but I'm happy for her that she made it into the top 3 with it. You know, not everything has to be for everybody, but this one wouldn't have been for me, but apparently she executed it really well, which is really awesome.
Well, then you can leave, Brendan. Okay. Growing up with like Southern parents, chicken livers are a thing that happens. Plus, they're really cheap. So like it just like you end up eating organ meat and becoming a person who likes pates and then your parents are like, "How'd you what?" And I'm like, "No, it's your fault, actually."
I don't think I've actually ever had chicken livers, but
really.
Yeah, I don't think I live in Massachusetts, so that's like the opposite of the South. But I just don't think that's ever been something like presented to me.
The opposite of the South.
Yes.
Yeah.
Famously, they had a whole war about it.
They have something in common.
Yes. They do. They very much do. But I do, but it's not like I would never try this type of thing, you know, especially a chicken liver mousse. Like that sounds so intriguing to me. But this is like, it's kind of wild because this does also feel like a very out of pocket option for their mystery ingredient, but she pulled it off very well.
She did. Poor Kenny. He just wanted to twerk, everyone, but instead he was given marshmallows from the mystery door, and he made roasted marshmallows with rum and cherry sauce, fried cinnamon, and sugar spring roll paper, and he was on the bottom with this dish.
It's a bummer because he's such a marshmallow person. He
I
seems like such a nice
know.
guy, and he hates marshmallows. I'm like, oh, no. But it's because you don't want to cook what you are. Okay, I get it. Yeah.
It's so true,
Get
though.
it. Yeah. But I was bummed. I was really bummed for Kenny because I really love his personality. I really love his cooking style. I think that it's a bummer, that he ends up in the bottom here. And then again, I mean, I think that he really didn't get a chance to show what he could really do. You know what I mean? Like, I think he had a lot more potential. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad because, like, this is a player that I really wanted to see do well. Like, he just seems like a little ball of sunshine. And I enjoyed him while he was on the show. But I think it's hard because when you get some of it's almost like a double-ended sword. If, for some of these, like the soy sauce or the chicken livers, that feels like really difficult things to pair well with cherries. But if it's done well, then you get a lot of praise for it. And then on the opposite side, some of these quote unquote easier options like the marshmallow, the chocolates, things that are already like on the sweeter side can pair really well, or like expected to pair well with cherries. It can be really hard to make something that is like worthy of the top, essentially.
Yeah, or you can overthink it even. I think you can overthink it. When the pairing seems easy, you tend to overthink it. And so you can wind up on the bottom.
This is interesting, though, because this will be a through line to the elimination challenge, which we'll talk about in a bit. But, like, have you all noticed that one of the things about Kenny has been, and this happened last week as well, that when he sees an ingredient, he kind of draws a blank at first. And it takes him a while to like warm up to what it is that he wants to do. And that's just hard. That's just hard to deal with in a competition like this where everything is like done with so little time. It seemed like he more than a lot of the other contestants was having difficulties like warming up to the competition. So I felt for him in this moment. Rasika, our reigning champion, got Chipotle onion. She also got to choose first and chose the big red door, which is what I would have done. And she was rewarded with onions. So she made a tart cherry Cipollini onion, charred pepper relish, and Berber spice, and won $5,000 with this dish.
Sounds
Love
fun.
this for her. I didn't even process to me that she might be like in a contender for the win, because it almost felt like, I don't know about you guys, but watching it, it just felt kind of like it went over my head. Like it wasn't a super big focus of like the quick fire scramble itself. But I love this for her. She's also been a favorite of mine. And this feels like super complicated for a 30-minute challenge, and she pulled it off so well. Charred pepper relish just sounds amazing.
Sounds great. Love it. Want it. Yeah. And I don't know what a Berber spice is, but I would like to try that spice.
Yeah. And I love that she kept it so simple. Just highlighted the 2 ingredients.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing job.
And a lot of people could have benefited from that wisdom, both in the quick fire and in the elimination. Just maybe it's okay to focus on the actual prime ingredient,
I would have just had them dip cherries into mustard and been like, ingredients. See? There you go. You
just get a really fancy looking you get the fanciest ramekin you can find. And you just dump some yellow mustard in there. Voila.
I can't wait until we start our new band, the Fancy Ramekin.
The Fancy Ramekins.
Great band.
It's amazing none of us have been called to head Top Chef production on challenges, because I just think this, like, we have some gold ideas here.
I think so. Fancier ramekins all around, please.
Fancy ramekins. And then finally, Kalina, last but definitely not least, because she got a little feature in this episode.
Yeah.
She had canned salmon and made cherry and salmon croquette, foreshadowing, with tart cherry cream, which sounds really good, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt for her because I was like, what are you going to do with, you poor girl, canned salmon? What can you possibly do? that it's going to taste good for canned salmon, aside from like dumping a bunch of mayonnaise on it and calling it a tuna salad. Like, this is not going to be very good, you know. But yeah, I mean, she wasn't at the bottom, so you know, there you go.
There you go. So they wrapped up the quick fire, and it's time for the elimination challenge. So, like I said, Roscoe won the quick fire. She got another $5,000 in her pocket. Is really racking up the dough from these. The elimination challenge is just something that I want us to reflect on for a second, if we can, as a group. Cheese. Carla got to yell cheese, and it made me feel very happy. I love cheese so much that I feel like this episode, like this challenge, was made for me. I didn't know that there would be so many croquettes in this challenge. But like I would have eaten every single one of them because cheese, I just have to have cheese. Does anyone have strong feelings about cheese?
Let me tell you the things I would have done to get into this tasting party. Like,
for sure.
If only I had gotten the invite. If only I had gotten word that this was happening. I love cheese. I love cheese with wine. I love cheese with the desserts. I love a little charcuterie board with cheese on there. It's just, there's no wrong way to eat cheese. Even like your late night cravings of getting shredded cheese from a bag in the fridge. Like, there's just no wrong way to eat it. You know, it's just, cheese is great. It comes in so many forms, so many types, and incredible.
I absolutely love cheese. Even if sometimes my stomach doesn't like as much how much I love cheese, I really love cheese. Like, I was so excited that this was going to be the cheese week. I mean, I love a queso. I wish somebody had made a queso in this elimination challenge. I mean, you're in Wisconsin, the home of many, many football teams, where people will constantly make queso as a appetizer for football watching. Make some queso. You know,
having lived in Wisconsin, there doesn't need to be a football game. Like, there doesn't need to be any excuse to melt some cheese.
Yeah, somebody melt some cheese. So I was kind of surprised nobody tried to do like a queso or a fondue with the cheese. Especially when it turned out how hot it was. I absolutely love cheese. I'm a big cheese fan. Here for it.
I do feel like eventually they are going to do some type of like tailgating challenge. I feel like they have to. Like, it's it's Packers land. It's Cheesehead
for sure
world over there.
Cheesehead
world. But I always love when they do like I'm not even a big sports person, but the sports theme challenges, like whenever they do a tailgate or like like one where they basically are forced to make bar food the whole time, and like not elevated bar food. I mean like specific bar food, like bar food that I would eat. That is exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm very excited when they do this. But this was the challenge I feel like would be the first thing everybody is thinking of when they announce that they're going to do Top Chef Wisconsin.
Yeah.
There's going to be a cheese challenge.
You have to do it right away. It has to be in the first 3 episodes. You have to do the cheese right away. Like,
you do.
What are your top cheeses, guys? What are your top 3 cheeses?
That is truly a Sophie's choice.
It really is.
What you're asking me to do right now, and I resent
Sophie's cheese?
A Sophie's cheese.
You're really asking me to pick a favorite child here, but it is Gorgonzola, I will say.
Oh,
I love Gorgonzola. Gorgonzola's great. Cheese curds. I do like cheese curds. What was the other one? Brie. I love brie. Brie with a little bread on it and a little fig jam on the side. Oh, absolutely.
Fig jam. I love Swiss cheese. There's especially this Amish Swiss cheese that I got in Wisconsin when I was living there. Like, I just lived in the cheese section, basically.
Nice.
It was really, really great for my figure. There's this Amish Swiss cheese, and I don't remember like the name of the group that made it, but oh my gosh, so good, and like such subtlety and flavor. I love a good soft cheese as well. You name it, soft, bake it up, you know, give me some pretzel sticks or something. Cheddar, a nice sharp cheddar on a burger, for example, heaven.
That's where I am with Gouda. Like, I love a Gouda, especially if I'm gonna make like some kind of sandwich or a burger. I want that good sliced Gouda cheese on there. Gouda's Gouda. I really love a pepper jack as well. I made a pasta bake earlier this week, and underneath the layers of shredded cheese, I put sliced pepper jack cheese, and then added the shredded cheese, and it added like this extra tiny spice of like tiny bit of spice to it that was like absolutely fantastic. I love a pepper jack. And then like you were saying, I love a soft cheese that has like those almonds on the outside of it with like the little like cranberry stuff inside. Cheese. And I love that cheese. That was some really good fancy crackers. Out of this world. Here for it. Yeah.
In the Top Chef off season, can we just rank our favorite cheeses?
Absolutely, yes.
It's gonna take us the whole off season. Yeah,
I know it would be like a draft, a tier list, something, and like I will sit for hours to debate the merits of the respective cheeses.
I'll do it. If you want to come back in the off season and the three of us debate cheeses, I will get us StreamYard access.
Yes, absolutely.
Please, I mark this down. I will be there. I am ready. I'm ready for the cheese debate. You also remind me I have a pack of emergency Parmesan in my fridge right now, like just the little cubes, the ones that are cut up in little. So just whenever you're getting a little cheese craving, you just pop one in your mouth. That's it.
So I love that you described it as emergency Parmesan.
Yes, because it really. That is going to be the first single. That's going to be the first single of the Fancy Ramekins. Yes.
Parmesan, I love it. Yes.
Okay, so
should we get into
we should probably Top Chef the show. Take a second and give cheese its due. Like we're some cheese loving bitches on this podcast, and so I just thought it was important that we talk about cheese. If the listeners at home did not appreciate it, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, this is the wrong podcast network for you. I'm sorry.
Definitely the wrong podcast network for you. So they were joined by award-winning cheesemakers Pam Hodgson and Andy Hatch. I love these like weird little insular communities of people that like win awards for things. It's one of the cool things about debate, but it's also like one of the cool things about, life is that you meet master cheesemakers. And they have to an incredible dish featuring one incredible cheese. The guest judge is Dane Baldwin and 100 cheese lovers for the first Top Chef Cheese Festival. The winner gets immunity in next week's elimination challenge. And it's, the judges are judging, obviously, but also these 100 people that are at the Cheese Lovers Festival are voting for their favorites. So
they get the weighted, their votes are weighted for the top and the bottom. So
yes. So we'll start with Savannah. She had Oaxacan cheese, which I love.
Nice.
Some Oaxacan cheese on a birria quesadilla. That's not what she made. I'm just thinking out loud. So she made a Oaxacan cheese quesadilla with whipped avocado, hatch chili, and roasted corn salsa. Who, as they said on the show, who doesn't love a tortilla? Who doesn't love quesadilla?
Perfect. Yep. This sounded absolutely perfect when she said it. I love the quesadilla. Like, yeah, let's rock and roll.
Hatch chilies, yummy. Let's do it. I've been really enjoying Savannah. I hope that she gets some more airtime because when we do get to see like glimpses of her personality, she seems really funny.
I do really like her. I wish we got a little bit more of her, but I think that I'm hopeful that means she's going to be around for a bit and we'll get more, like the second act of the show. We'll get to see more of her.
That's what I hope too. Alicia had aged brick cheese and she made ham and brick cheese croquettes with sherry aioli. So she is the first of many of the contestants to make a croquette for this challenge. Brendan, why do you think that so many people's minds went to croquettes?
I don't know who doesn't love a croquette, I guess. But like, no, and there's so many other. I think because people get fixated on, I need to make something with bread and cheese because they just go together so naturally.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just make like a sandwich, like a grilled cheese sandwich. So I have to think of a fancy way to do a cheese with a bread thing. And
Yeah.
this
The
is what
fact
they
that
got.
no one did a grilled cheese sandwich, like
I
just
know,
a
it's a
really
bummer.
fancy grilled cheese with like some tomato soup.
So I have to tell you, I was at you know Zach, my podcast partner Zach Brooks. His brother got married last year, and they at their wedding
Is
they
he still
had
married because he hated
There's-
Barbie and I divorced him for that?
Look, we're not gonna get into Barbie until the end of the show,
Fine.
okay, everybody?
Fine.
But my favorite appetizer they had at the wedding is exactly that. They had like a 3-cheese tiny grilled cheese
Oh.
that was sitting on top of a tiny cup of tomato soup. And you took the grilled cheese off the top of the cup and you dipped it in the tomato soup. It was freaking incredible. I've been telling everybody about this every time they talk about like grilled cheese. I'm like, this is my favorite thing that I've ever had at a wedding. It was so good.
See, that's what I was thinking. That is what I would have done.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's not the most imaginative thing, but it doesn't matter if it's delicious, you know?
Right. And I mean, I liked the idea behind the ham and cheese with the aioli, but I
Yes.
think that they're like, I mean, because who doesn't love a ham and cheese classic combo? But I think there was a different way it could have been executed, like making a grilled ham and cheese.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I would do it, but like,
Mhm.
I'm but a peasant podcasting about this show.
This is a bougie podcast. Act accordingly.
Yeah.
So you can see we have emergency Parmesan, okay? Like
We
we
do.
don't play.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's the
We,
store downstairs where I can get cheese at any time.
I think like the appeal of a croquette is that obviously it is a very easy vehicle for a lot of cheese. Like so
Mhm.
for a lot of the cheeses that were selected, it works really well with it. But the and also the fact that I remember them mentioning later in the season or in this episode that once they got towards the end, they were excited because they were when they got to like Kenny's dish, they weren't getting stuff that was a lot that wasn't fried. But I think that like it's because of like they're serving 100 people. They need something that's going to taste well on the fly and something that you can make a lot of and have the same consistency for it. So fried food, fried cheese, croquette, I think that kind of hitting a lot of the boxes of a successful dish of for what the challenge limitations are.
Yeah, for sure. Our next contestant is Michelle. Michelle had Pleasant Ridge Reserve. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And she did something so cool.
So cool.
She made a coconut curry, collard greens, saag paneer with Pleasant Ridge Reserve potato fritter, which just sounds amazing.
Looked incredible, sounded incredible. Like, I mean, I grew up in South Carolina and I've had my fair share of collard greens and I absolutely like love them. I would have gobbled this up in about 10 seconds and then had heartburn afterwards, but it would have been worth it. This got my elimination challenge. It just sounds delicious, probably Voltaggio.
I think that I love some of my favorite chefs in Top Chef history have been chefs that are able to really implement like their style of cooking with a lot of different challenges and like a lot of different techniques in there. So I think like this is just a standout on one hand because it's not a croquette, but she does so many other things with the dish to make it successful. This was such a great use of collard greens and just everything about it sounds amazing. I wanted to reach through the screen and just grab a bowl for myself because it just sounds incredible.
And it was so different from what everyone else was doing.
Yes, it really helped her to stand up.
Yeah, the fritter just looked so perfect too. Like it was like it was just like the most gorgeous fritter I've ever seen in my life. Like, oh yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah.
And
go ahead, Gia.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think like I think she won because she had the best dish by far, and that like the judges and audience, or I don't even know what to call them, the tasters,
festival,
like the group,
cheese
yeah.
lovers.
Yes, the cheese, the lucky few, as we will say.
Yeah.
But I think they, were able to, it was their favorite as well. Like it was everybody's favorite. And I think part of that is just like in the Top Chef world, I wonder if obviously they already bought a lot of their ingredients, but if it would have benefited some of these chefs to pivot from the croquette field once they realized how many people were making them. Because unless you have the best croquette in the bunch, I feel like the best you can hope for at that point is safe afterwards.
Yeah, I think there was also like a comfort food feeling to this dish as well. And when you have an audience vote, they're gonna go with the thing that like gives them the warm fuzzies. You know what I mean? And this felt like a warm fuzzies dish.
And saag paneer is by far my favorite thing to order when I get Indian food. So to just have this like twist on it with greens, like my favorite thing in the world. I probably would have just stolen this from her and not given it back. I don't care if there are 100 cheese lovers at the first ever Top Chef Cheese Festival. I am just going to take all of this food. So that's why they didn't invite me. Anyway, Dan was also at the top, which we love to see. He had Mexican style manchego cheese, and he made Sancho Cruz manchego potato dumplings with cheese fone and olive tapenade. Really great to see Dan on this show because of the representation that he brings for people who are suffering from chronic illnesses, and the fact that he's so like able to just like be gritty and get through what he has to do when he has such like obvious constraints that other people aren't working with is amazing to see, and it's so great to see him at the top.
Yeah, I mean, Dan is so inspiring, like, with everything he's dealing with his Kennedy's disease and how he's overcoming that and also bringing awareness to it in such a forthright way. I was terrified for him during the quickfire when he freaking slipped on the floor and crashed.
Oh, that was during the nation. Like 2 people did not
during the quickfire. 2 people did not clean up after themselves on the floor, and Dan unfortunately took the fall. And I was like, "Oh god, oh no!" Like the last person you want to see slip and crash on the floor is the guy that's already in like chronic pain and chronic illness, and it's awful. But I'm so happy for him, and I'm so happy to see how well he's doing, and especially like for bringing that representation.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because
I've really enjoyed his story so far.
I was just gonna say, especially because like people who have illnesses or disabilities that you can't see are often thought of as just kind of malingerers. Like you don't like I mean, this happens to me a lot. Like you couldn't tell by looking at me unless you knew me well that I have a lot of health stuff going on. So like it's just great for him to be on the show and be spreading awareness and showing us things like him putting his braces on to get ready for the day. Just goes to normalize everything that he's going through. And I think that's great.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed seeing how his story has been framed so far, and that like obviously it is not the only thing about him that we know about him on this season, but also like taking a fall for him and like when people aren't cleaning up after themselves might be a little more serious than like and another contestant like slipping and falling, and they're taking time to acknowledge that. I also want to drop a little tidbit that in the Dan, since we brought up Dan, me and the Quickfire Queens have a little group chat going, and I was told today that the James Beard noms were out today, and Dan and his husband were nominated for Best Chef in Wisconsin.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Congratulations if you're listening. I hope you are. Yeah, that's awesome.
Please listen to us.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing is like we're talking about, you know, how he's overcoming his condition and how great that is, but he's also like a really freaking talented chef. Like everything he did last week and this week, I put yum next to and want to eat. Like he's just he's incredibly talented to boot, and that's really awesome. Yeah,
killing it. Our man Manny was at the bottom with cheddar cheese curds.
This hurt.
One of our favorite things.
This hurt.
He made a potato croquette with gravy and cheese curds, but he ran out of time, so he just kind of threw the cheese curds on top. Which I was concerned. I really was that they were going to say he didn't meet the challenge. And that he was going to get sent home because of that. I was very concerned for him.
Well, okay, I'm the idiot who's never been to Wisconsin and never had a cheese curd, but like this is where I thought that he actually got like a real disadvantage because you can't change, at least in my knowledge of what cheese curds are, you can't really change cheese curds the way you can a lot of these other cheeses, right?
Yeah, but
they are cheese curds, and they're going to be what they are no matter what. So yeah, you can fry them, but you can't turn them into anything else like you can a lot of these other cheeses.
I can turn them into a swan. I don't know about you.
Cheese curd swan. That's track number 2. Cheese curd swan.
I almost think that he should have gone with. I don't think that with cheese curds you necessarily have to go the route of a croquette on top of it. Like you're already working with a fried food in there, so like I can understand the appeal of what he was trying to do, but I feel like you could even go with like do elevated poutine or something. Like I think you could still go the route of like a fried food dish with cheese curds. That seems to be like a reasonable assumption to do for this challenge, but I don't think that his choice to kind of be in the croquette field as well really helped his options here, especially since he ran out of time. I think that maybe he should have once he learned everyone else was doing a croquette, like pivot to try to do something else. Yeah.
If this season of The Bachelor taught us anything, and it didn't, it's that anyone can make a poutine, you know? Just make a poutine. So yeah, man, it was in the bottom. Kenny was also in the bottom. He had glacier gorgonzola, and he made a crab rangoon salad with gorgonzola creme fraiche, cream, Luxardo cherry relish, and rice paper chips. And we'll talk about this in a little bit, but he ended up being eliminated because of this dish.
Yeah, and he loves that rice paper. Like
he does. He used it for the quick fire as well. Let's see. Rasika got the Dunbarton. Dunbarton blue cheese, and made Dunbarton blue paniyurum with braised chicken korma.
Sounded great. I'd eat it.
Great.
Yeah. Whatever. Give me chicken. She said that they were like chicken thighs, and I was like, oh yeah. Chicken thighs are the best part of chicken.
Thighs. Love chicken
absolutely.
thighs.
Here for it.
Kevin, who was also on the bottom, had the triple cream brie, which Kevin, you're French and you got brie.
Yeah.
You can't be at the bottom. What are you doing? How are you scaring us this way? He made brie croquettes with Mornay, ham, and truffle, which sounds good, honestly. But wasn't his problem that he couldn't get his breading right because everything was too hot? So he double breaded everything.
Exactly and that just overpowered it, the chef said, or the judges said that just overpowered everything because
this was just a tough day for Kevin. I think he was just really he was struggling a little bit today. I don't think him being on the bottom last episode really helped him. I think he's like, it's a confidence issue that he needs to kind of just like bounce back from it, because we've seen him do good food before. So it sucks, but I could kind of see where this was going for him. It just seemed like he was in his head too much with this.
Yeah, for sure. Annie had a 15-year cheddar and made 15-year-old cheddar fritter, cheddar chili lime Mornay, and cheddar foam.
Cheddar.
Cheddar on cheddar.
You had me at cheddar.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked great. Would have had several. Laura had Gouda Reserve 1,000 plus days and made Gouda Reserve potato croquette with peach mostarda. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I mean,
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good is in my top 3 cheeses. I would probably really enjoy this. Yeah.
Exactly. Charlie had canella cheese and made a yucca croquette with canella cheese and tomato mango sauce. Also sounded really freaking good.
Yeah.
I think that, we would eat any of these things, honestly, because they're cheese.
Yeah, I think this is the one that got the closest to what we were talking about earlier with like the grilled cheese and tomato soup thing.
Exactly.
If he had souped that tomato sauce a little more, I think it would have helped a lot. Yeah.
Tomato and mango together is delicious, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Amanda had the Mount Raclette and made a Mount Raclette arancini with Mornay and Dijon sauce, fig and olive gremolata. That looked and sounded delicious to me. And then finally, Kalina had Merlot Bella Vitano and made Bella Vitano mac and cheese with Merlot, mushroom, and breadcrumbs, and was on the top, one of the top 3 with this dish, which sounds, again, like something any of us would eat.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I was really concerned for her when she first started talking about this dish because she talked about, like, she grabbed the boxed pasta to do the mac and cheese instead of making her own pasta. And the way they set that up in the prep stage, I thought that was going to, like, come back to bite her. And instead, like, that turns out to be a really smart choice for her so that she could focus on featuring the cheese.
Yes.
And not worry about the pasta, because if she had been worrying about making the pasta, she might not have been able to put as much effort into the cheese. And so it gets her into the top 3. So it turns out to be a really smart choice. Normally, like, stuff like that gets you in the bottom, or can.
I really thought that she was very smart here, and her reasoning was all very sound, and I was happy for her that she was in the top. And we got to see a little bit about her and her partner earlier in the show, which was really cute. And now that she lives in Chicago, I'm just saying, I'm also in Chicago. If you want to link up any of the Chicago chefs, please let me know. Yep. So ultimately, the winner of this elimination challenge was Michelle, as we discussed before, with her coconut curry, collard greens, and sog with Pleasant Ridge Reserve potato fritter. And then we had Manny, Kenny, and Kevin in the bottom. And Kenny ultimately went home and was eliminated with his dish. So that takes us into Last Chance Kitchen, which is always an exciting time because Tom is in charge.
Oh, yeah. Yep. We didn't mention Tom's hat in the elimination challenge, though, but the dark straw hat, Panama hat he was rocking in the elimination challenge, perfect. I want it.
Mm-hmm.
Just let him wear any hat he wants, you know?
I just want to take a lesson from him in hats. Like, how many hats do you have? What is the correct hat for me? Like, how do you choose?
Exactly.
I will say, though, so I know it's only been a few episodes, but the guest judges lineup so far has been fire. Like Joe, Flam, and then Carla. Like I am very, very happy with this selection. These are, again, some of my favorite personalities on Top Chef, and it's been great to see them.
The looks that Carla and Tom were giving each other when Kenny was describing his dish.
Yes.
They were just like, oh, this is going to be a mess.
The eye roll,
Uh-huh.
I love them.
And then we learned that he was just like pouring cherry juice on top of the judges' servings because he didn't have enough of like
the relish
what he made for the judges.
Oh,
so bad. He goes into Last Chance Kitchen against reigning champion and 16th contestant Sue. Do you watch Last Chance Kitchen, Gia?
I do. I love Last Chance Kitchen. It's like a little, I always get sad every week that when the Top Chef episode is over and then there's like a little surprise at the end. Be like, you could still watch this.
Exactly.
Have you guys talked about your feelings yet on the thoughts of how this Last Chance Kitchen is structured this year?
We talked about it a little bit last podcast, but I'd be great to hear your thoughts on it. It would be great to hear your thoughts on it.
I'm just not a fan of how they structured this, and I have several questions for them. But I think this would have made more sense. Now, from my understanding, the David, I think it was the first guy that was eliminated, opted out of participating in Last Chance.
We were wondering what happened.
Yeah, so
there were a couple of different rumors floating around. Nothing positive about exactly what happened, but something happened where he chose not to.
Yeah, so it sounded like Tom Coleco, I think, commented at one point saying he just decided not to do it, but I'm sure there was more reason to that, but speculate away. But I think it would, and maybe this is what they were originally planning before his departure, but I just personally think it would have made more sense for the structure of this challenge if they're going to have this mystery contestant to have the limited players compete like in groups of 3. The first Last Chance Kitchen episode would have happened after Valentine's elimination, but it would have been Sue, Valentine, and David, or wait till this episode to have the first one. So it would be like Valentine, Kenny, and Sue. And my reason for that is just, I think because they have hyped up this new contestant and it's only going to be 2 people, and Sue has to be, I think it's 5 people before he goes back in. The way that it is phrased makes me think that, and not to say anything against Sue, he's like very clearly a very talented chef here, but I feel it makes me think he is at least around for like round 5, for round 4. Like,
right. Yeah, it feels like we're being spoiled. Yeah.
So
a little bit.
The suspense is gone.
Yeah, like it could very well be that, and I am not Last Chance Kitchen conspiracy theorists with like, oh, they let their favorites go through or anything like that. But just the way that it has been phrased to us makes me feel that he is at least around to like episode 4 or 5 of Last Chance Kitchen. So like right before he goes in, or the episode that he needs to win to go in. So it really just kills the suspense for me with Last Chance Kitchen, at least for this early part here. And also, Sue seems really cool. So just put him in the main show to like
just put him in.
Because
it really does seem like there's no way they would have built up this 16th contestant if he wasn't going to actually like beat everybody and make it onto the show.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's also a way for them to avoid like the awkwardness of this not being planned for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're overcorrecting with the hype of him being on the show now, because it wasn't planned to have Last Chance Kitchen happen this way, or for Sue to be on the show. I think he was an alternate. So they're sort of overcorrecting the hype machine on Last Chance Kitchen, which is causing a lot of this type of speculation. I, like you said, I really like Sue as well. I think he's a really talented chef. I like his personality.
Yeah.
It's a bummer to see Kenny go out, because as we were saying, like, we really love his personality as well. And just to have him and Valentine now have to sit there and be the peanut gallery and just say, sorry, everybody, to everybody who comes in against Sue.
Right.
Feels, like there's a little bit of sadness there. Yeah.
And depending how they frame it for next episode, maybe that critique will go away, because we are getting a double elimination next episode. So we'll get the 3-person face off that I want. But I feel like even if they just, I would have waited an episode to see till this week to do like Kenny versus Valentine versus Sue versus Valentine, then Sue versus Kenny. It at least gives us a little more suspense, a little more like what if in these next couple episodes.
Or make it like a tournament type thing, where in order for Sue to stay in Last Chance Kitchen, he has to first face Valentine, then face Kenny in a separate challenge, and then he can stay. Like, you know what I mean? Like in the same episode, not in 2 separate episodes. Like,
well, it ultimately does not matter what we want. Because on this week's Last Chance Kitchen, there was a Lindbergh cheese. Cheese challenge.
Cheese challenge.
Make a cheese forward dish, which I don't know how making anything with Lindbergh wouldn't be cheese forward, but the challenge was like a cheese forward dish using only this cheese. And Kenny made Vietnamese rice paper, shocking, pizza with an egg base, chili crisp, grilled cantaloupe, and Limburger cheese sauce. And Sue made eggplant parmesan with pomodoro sauce and roasted tomatoes. And he was the winner. I know that I would have chosen this eggplant. Like,
just on presentation alone, that eggplant parm looked amazing.
It was so good.
It was just like perfectly plated. It looked amazing. It was like soaked in sauce or something. It was incredible. Yes. It just looked amazing. Like, I already knew that Sue was going to win this, but it was just further confirmed by seeing what the dish was.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, two things I absolutely love: pizza and eggplant parmesan.
Yes.
They're just, I would have been happy with either of these dishes, especially like I didn't expect Tom to say that Kenny's pizza was spicy, and I was like, ooh, yeah, I'm even more intrigued. Yeah. When Tom was like, it's got a little spice to it, I was like, oh, because I like a spicy pizza too. So there you go. Yeah, I was really impressed with both of them and what they were able to do with this.
The thing that Sue did with the cheese by just like putting it in the oven and then like waiting till the last minute to serve it over the eggplant. Oh, that looked so good. It looked like the perfect cheese pull could come from that.
It did. It really did.
So that is what happened on Top Chef season 21, episode 3, and on Last Chance Kitchen. As you all know that we do here, we go around the horn and talk about the things that we have eaten recently that stood out to us. Brendan, would you like to get us started?
I'd love to. I'm gonna shout out a couple weeks ago I went to visit my sister in Pittsburgh, and she took me to a couple of different restaurants that I really, really loved. We had sushi at this place called Jimmy Wan's that is in Blonox. I don't know what they call the little suburbs around Pittsburgh, but she lives in Blonox, which is right outside of Pittsburgh. So we went and got sushi the night I got in at Jimmy Wan's. It was absolutely fantastic. They also had a seaweed salad that I absolutely loved. And one of my favorite go-to things is a good hot and sour soup. Like, if you can pull off a hot and sour soup, you instantly have my approval as a restaurant. And this was one of the best hot and sour soups I've ever had. So that's Jimmy Wan's. And then the next day we went to get Mexican food at this place called Toscano's that was also really, really delicious. Had a really great handmade guacamole, and then I had the what do you call it? Cheese. Sorry, hang on. Sorry, I just got a head rush.
I
was talking too fast, like Zach was last week.
And you weren't breathing?
Yeah, I was not breathing, apparently.
Okay, all right, just give me a second to note the time.
Yeah, sorry.
Start up whenever you want.
Yeah. And then we also went to this other place called Toscano that's a Mexican place near her house. They had really fantastic, house-made guac, which is really great. And then I also had the steak fajitas, and they make their own tortillas, which is always a good sign for a Mexican place. If they make their own tortillas. Fajitas were absolutely fantastic. And if you can nail the fajitas, I trust you with anything else I might go back there for in the future.
Yes.
So 2 places around Pittsburgh that I can't wait to go back to next time I visit my sister.
Yum.
Yeah.
Gia, what about you?
That all sounded very, very good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So it's kind of the perfect week. Last week I was house sitting. So I was house sitting for my mom and stepdad while they were away for the week. So I did a lot of ordering out during that time. I did actually eat a lot of cheese one night, and my stomach, like just little cubes of cheese, like that was my dinner, and my stomach did not agree with me the next day about it. But
no.
I stand by my decision. Like
great decision in the moment. Yep.
Yeah. And looking back, I don't think I would have changed a thing. Like sometimes you need to be humbled, but I got right back up and did it again. So it is all good. And also just there's a restaurant near their house that is very, very good. and I go there every once in a while. But it's like a treat myself type of thing. Because I don't order out too much. So this was like a very special occasion week for me. And for some reason that day, I was really craving a burger. I don't eat burgers that often. Like it's got to be a real like special occasion. And I have to really be in the mood for it because it's just not something that I crave on like a regular basis. But I got a truffle burger with fries there, and it was so good. I like a medium rare. It was cooked perfectly for me, and I had half of it for dinner, and then half of it was my lunch the next day. And all I could think about at work the next day was, when was it lunchtime that I could go back home to my parents' house and eat the second half of my truffle burger. It was so good. It was incredible. That was my favorite thing that I ate this week or last week. So I was very, very happy about it. And so this week I'm leaning a little more on the veggie side. So I cooked up some oyster mushrooms that I've been eating throughout the week, and some rice. And I also chopped up some pico de gallo as this kind of like an alternative to go with the rice and everything. Put a little mozzarella cheese on it and make like a little homemade chipotle rice bowl. So so a lot of good stuff in the past few weeks.
Yeah. My food is outside of my door taunting me right now.
Oh man.
It smells so good. I ordered pizza today.
Nice.
Because we talked about cheese a lot. So there's really like it's not my fault.
It isn't.
I also ordered a roasted beet salad just to like offset the fact that I'm eating pizza. And I'm excited for that. I had a craving for catfish and spaghetti.
Whoa. That's combo.
Yeah.
I have catfish in my freezer. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I love catfish.
Catfish and spaghetti is like a classic meal for Black people, I feel like. It's just they're two great tastes that go well together. Can't really fault them.
They're great.
I love the lemon pepper catfish. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say they're great separate and they're great together. It's like they can't go wrong with it.
So when I ordered food from this place called Italian Fiesta, which we used to order from all the time when I was younger, but it's not in range near my house. So I ordered it because it's in range of my boyfriend's house. So I got Italian Fiesta. I got a catfish dinner with spaghetti, and it made me very happy. Like I was just, they serve it with the tartar sauce and the hot sauce.
Ooh.
Nice. All of the things are there. It's just fantastic stuff. I had a craving for, after we got off the podcast last week, I had a craving for some Italian beef. So I got the perfect Chicago sandwich at Al's Beef with, I get sweet and hot peppers on the sandwich. I also get cheese on my sandwich, but I also order a side of the sweet and the hot peppers because I like to be able to build as many peppers as I want. I like to build a pepper fort for my sandwich. And then I had some really good brisket from this place called Chicago Q. Nice. And I got in my quest, I think, to find all the places that have pickles on their menu. I got their bread and butter pickles that they make in-house, and they are so good. They come with pickled onions as well. So just having some brisket and some mac and cheese and cutting that fat with the acidity of the pickles, so good. So yeah, that is what I did. I also got shrimp pizza this week. If you have not had shrimp on pizza, then you are missing out. It is delicious.
Is that a white sauce or a red sauce? Is it like an Alfredo thing, or is it?
No, it's a red sauce. It's just it's like a normally made pizza, except it's got shrimp on it. I think I also got garlic and tomato on as well.
Makes sense.
But it was very, very good. It has been a good week of eating for me.
Nice.
All right. I guess we're ready to wrap things up here. Thank you both so much for being here and doing this podcast and making this happen. Where can people find you, Brendan?
Yeah, you can find me over at the Movie Ladder podcast, which I co-host with my good friend Zach Brooks. Every week we do a movie that is somehow connected to the movie we did the week before. Last week we did The Truman Show and had a really great conversation about that film. This upcoming week we'll be pivoting to the 1994 film Quiz Show, which Zach has never seen. I'm really excited for him to see it for the first time. Yeah, I adore that movie, so hopefully he likes it too. And even if he doesn't, we'll have a good conversation about it. But you were on that podcast a couple weeks ago, LT, and I appreciate the plugs you did for us on here about your 2 appearances on that as well. So you can follow me on Twitter at FitzyBrendan as well. Yeah.
Always excited to be asked to come back to the podcast. We'll be your number 3 if you all ever decide that you're going to extend the co-hosts to 3. Just an idea. No big deal. Gia, what have you been up to? Where can people find you?
You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Classically Gia for all of my reality TV shenanigans. I don't just do Top Chef here, although it's always a delight when I do. I'm also covering Top Chef over on Silent Podcast with Naomi Calhoun and Nicole Horn on Quickfire Queens. So please, when you're done listening to that and you're like, I need to listen to more Top Chef, I just can't. An hour and a half is simply not enough Top Chef on top of the regular show proper. Go over to Silent Podcast and also listen to Quickfire Queens as well. And if you have had your fill of Top Chef, that's totally fine. You should also still go on Silent Podcast Network and listen to my recaps of Survivor 46 on our podcast. I Don't Know About That. And when you're done listening to that podcast and you say, podcasting about Survivor 41, that is just not enough. Survivor 46.
You just wish it was 41.
I do love 41. But listen, if Survivor 46, if that was not enough Survivor 46 for you, totally fine. Go to Inside Survivor and read our weekly roundups with me and my good friend, Christine Palin.
Amazing. And you can follow me on Twitter at LK Starks or on Instagram at Stormborn1222. I'll be appearing on the Recap Kickback, I believe, this week. We talked about the movie Shirley with Regina King and her sister, who also stars in the movie, Raina. Very fun time had with Chappelle and Mari. I always love getting to talk to them. Otherwise, you can catch me here again next week when we bring you coverage of Top Chef Season 21, Episode 4. Okay, everybody, this is it. Pack your knives and get out of here. Bye.
Bye.